So I'd like to, I guess, just kind of start with a little bit of an introduction into the project that we're going to talk about today. So this is my PhD project, which is titled The Body as Data. So the kind of project that I've been looking at over the past few years is an exploration, or a practice as research exploration, I should say, into issues surrounding performance and migration in a digitized age. So it's attributing some of those kind of wider issues surrounding migrating bodies as being considered as other, as disposable, as hypervisible or invisible at the hands of digital and political regimes of control. So within that kind of context, the project has been asking whether performance in a kind of digitized sense, digital performance might be able to create some intervention to rethink that kind of problematic relationship between migrating bodies and those digital regimes of control. So the practice that we did together was really the kind of performative exploration of that. So I'll kind of start with a quick introduction of what I mean by the body as data, to give you a little bit of context. And then instead of kind of focusing too much on any kind of critical reflection, I think what would be really fab today is just for us to have a conversation about the formulation of the two pieces, and we'll look at the app in particular, and to just kind of understand the working relationships that went into that and some of the aspects of the app itself. So when I talk about the body as data, I'm drawing on Aneta Storznik and her writings of cyborgs in the 21st century. And in doing that, that means I'm also drawing on Rosie Braidotti and Donna Haraway's Cyborg Manifesto, and then also Deleuze and Guattari's kind of sense of becoming. So Aneta Storznik talks about cyborgs as being based on class privilege in the 21st century. And she offers this really, really powerful example of that is the way that we're not just turning into cyborgs in a literal sense, but how the kind of body is inscribed into digital regimes of control. So she gives this example of how at a digital border, for example, at an EU border, a refugee will give their digital fingerprint, which is instantly transported to every other kind of EU border control system, and their body is transferred into that data. And at the same time, that inhibits their movement. And the border, as its kind of digitized self, is translated into the body, and the refugee body carries the border with it. So we're looking at that idea of the body as data. The way that we are kind of looking at this was through sort of surveillance technologies within performance, and how that relationship between the body and those kind of digital surveillance methods at borders could be reimagined, could be rethought of within performance. So I'll stop rabbiting on that. But that's the kind of little bit of context for you. So I'll let Tom kind of tell a little bit about himself in a second, but the collaboration that we did together was a year-long process looking at creating two pieces. One was a live streamed and drone captured site-specific durational performance on Margate Beach in Kent, and the other is a performative app. And it'd be really fab for us to talk a little bit about the kind of performative app today, which is titled Contagion. And the idea of the app is that it implicates us all in contributing to the contagion. So that's the kind of premise of what it does. Tell everyone how you kind of got involved in the project and where that kind of starting point was for you, I guess, and just a little bit about yourself as well.
I am Thomas Tegento. From Ethiopia, Eritrea, and I started living in Canterbury 8 years now. I think I'm more British than anything. 8 years in one place, but that's the longest place. And I was working at the Kent Uni, the Marlow, no, the Gulbenkian, the Gulbenkian Theatre, and my boss I think I shouldn't call him boss, since that's my language. He contacted me with her, and first we had like a phone conversations. It was so like promising. It's just like I like expressing myself a lot, because that's the way I protect myself and people around me. And this is just a really good chance for me to learn how I can actually and it was really a big experience for me. So the whole, like, it was 1 year, but a couple of years, probably, 2 years. And mostly we talked about identities, like how you can experiment on alter egos, like the different kinds of personalities. And in my experience, I felt I exchanged that conversation with her. I got lots of identities. Like most of them I don't know, and most of them a little of them I know. And we were talking about carrying the border, and I was like, carrying the border. Now I'm gonna carry the border. Okay, I can do it on physical theater, and that is the whole concept. Just attracts me. And yeah, we had a really good journey to find our characters and movements, how we can really intertwine with the technology. And that was a new learning for me. That's how it started. It was overwhelming.
Yeah, that was the catalyst. Yeah. That's really great that you've kind of touched on these kind of multiple identities, because I was going to touch on that in a second. So we'll jump into that. So we were looking at what it is to be a kind of a multiplicity, to have these multiple facets of identity and kind of modes of becoming, and some of the kind of state issues that might prohibit that and put someone into a fixed identity. So when we were looking at this, we thought about what it might mean for the body as data to become this kind of digital alter ego. And in this case, kind of accessing multiple identities. So we discovered this digital alter ego. We thought about what the digital alter ego might do within performance, how it might manifest, and what it might allow for your body in performance. So could you maybe touch on Rasselas, how we discovered him, what he is to you, how the kind of process of creating him happened, and then I guess we can then explain hopefully the app in a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit more about his role in that in a sec.
I'm surprised that we just get the character so easily, because we had a lot of conversation about this identity and all that things. And you explained me. I read your research, not entirely, because it was hard for me, but to get the idea of it, and the body as data, and it's like a connection of it's the same thing but seen as different, because most people like, oh, technology, but I think we are technology, you know. Like and everything I see, I came from Africa, where I don't have iPad or growing up with that, but everything I see was technology, the problem and the intertwine and everything. So, and so that is how, like, that was impressive for me. But it was easy for us, like, to come to the because technology gives you like a lot of identities, even more liminal identities that you have no idea about. They might even put you in danger or in anything. So this needs to be like really managed or controlled. You know, like I want to know what's going on before. So it was really, creating the character was really very important for us to like have that idea embodied in that character.
Yeah. And who was Rasselas to you?
Rasselas, yeah.
Where did Rasselas come from? Because so Tom created Rasselas as this alter ego. So yeah, can you touch a little bit?
We were
on
discussing,
that?
and the name come up so quickly, but the background is this. James, I just forgot the author now.
Jameson.
The top, yeah, in the middle age, there was a author who wrote a story of Rasselas, and I have heard of it back home. And this is a prince in the palace, but he wanted to explore outside, so he were left. It's like Back to America version, but I've heard it when I was a child, and when I came here as well, I had more information because he's a British writer as well, and about identities. When you say about identities and things, and that's like the story really resembles with my story. Like as I left Africa for a better life, but I got lots of things I miss and I left as well. You know, if you like maths, do the maths, it's really like it's so like that all these things make me of thinking of that, like different places, like places where my identity is like and also ideas that are attached with, like rivers and mountains, or like these natural things that actually are as well influenced my work, because Rasselas is about like a journey. It's just exploring, but I wasn't exploring, but I am.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
great. So I absolutely hit the nail on the head with this idea of Rasselas being a journey. So that wonderful idea of how Rasselas kind of encapsulated lots of different identities that we're exploring in terms of kind of digital identities and also physical. So you can see it. So we can show the app now. So this is just a quick run through of how the app functions. So there are a few different users just running through it, and you can get a kind of quick idea of how the app functions and what happens and what you have to do. But we'll talk a little bit about that afterwards. It's a kind of condensed version because it runs for 15 minutes, so you won't hear all of the audio, but it's just a little kind of idea of what happens. So hopefully this works.
Please stay out of the water. It's dangerous and contaminated.
Hello? Hello? Are you there? It is Rasselas. I need you to work for me. I need you to get me as far as you can. We're doing this together. I need you to allow me into your space as I tell you about mine. Watch over your breath and your mind. Chapter 10. Until the next night and the night after, they kept smiling and keep going on and on. Hey yo, how are you doing? I can feel us getting closer now. I'm collecting each step. The contagion spreads as you continue to walk. Keep going. Everything and everyone connected. Me and you are now the same, like one data. I move, run, and work with you now.
So that's just a little idea of how the app kind of functions. And the idea was that everyone, as you said, is kind of implicated and helping to spread this contagion. And so I guess it would be fab to maybe talk a little bit about the walking aspect now, and the kind of different layers. So we wanted to kind of collect data for the app to kind of contribute to one data set, to kind of wrestle us as digital data set, so that this contagion kind of spreads in different bodies and different multiple geographies, but as one kind of set of data. So could you talk a little bit about the script, perhaps, and the kind of idea of the walk and the different layers of that?
I pulled the script from a book I wrote when I was at college. So then, because the character just straight took me to that, related with the river, because that scene in my book, one of the scene, a character follows a river. That's where he tries to get away from enemies, because the enemies are the end of the other end of the river, and it's Nile River. That most of you know, Nile River is the largest river, and I have been there, like, walking a couple of times. So that's just bring back memory. This book has a background as well. Like, I had my friends, a lot of one of him, I knew him far distance from where I grew up. He was older, so I was like, you know, he's my role model. Like, that's how we do. And in the desert, there were ISIS time at that time, so they collected them and they asked them, you're Christian, and then they just killed them right there. And I had to watch that on YouTube, sitting in Sainsbury, and I was really like traumatized. And my mentor asked me to write about it, and then I wrote about it. Like, I just wrote what I think of, and it's kind of like a turnout, a true story, based on true story kind of fiction. So it was really fitting, and that scene is especially very, like, memorable. For it's very natural, and I like it. It's like the one we've done before was presentation, but this one I had to walk to riversides and remember, and just enjoy it. It was mostly enjoying the walk, and I had directions, a lot of directions, and at some points I just think the audience is me. I'm the audience. It mixes, but sometimes it just mixes, like. And when I listen to it, I listen to not myself, like myself and not myself, because, like, that is outside me now. It's gone. And the sound effects as well, because it goes with the river. For me, like a walk, a river, and a refugee, for me, it's the same, because, like, where the river goes, and it takes everything that goes with as much as it can. And that's like a refugee. We have, like, everywhere we go, we have lots of things picking up, like a border, like a fingerprint, lots of things, experience, language, some words. I speak some French, some Italian, some I don't speak Italian, but a little bit. So that's how where the script.
Yeah, absolutely. So the script was, as Tom said, this kind of perfect connection to the idea of the walk, and a really wonderful kind of chapter to draw from. And you touched a little bit about the kind of preparation that you did. So we kind of completed this in lockdown. So this was all kind of remote working, and we had to go out and as you were recording the app, there was this idea of wanting to prepare the user or the participant. So you kind of went through the same preparation, didn't you? And then there's kind of instructions that is given by Tom, by Rapsalas rather, in the app that ask the user to do the same thing. So there's this kind of repetition of preparation and of the walk itself, and the kind of different layers that goes through. So yeah, maybe talk to us a little bit about the kind of preparation that you ask the user to do, and then maybe we could touch on the kind of instructions for the user, and also the questions that they have to fill out at the beginning.
Yeah. The first thing is like first you warm up before you walk or run or do sports or anything. You pray first. So that's the one thing, the first thing that I just had, like, do this, like, up, down. And I was doing it like when I was trying, because it does make sense. If I'm not doing it, I'll be like, all right, now just go and get up your hand. It wouldn't work. So and the other thing was imagining, because I didn't know what's gonna come out. Because you're a technology person, I'm like, oh, I'm a technology. But I've heard like there was a kind of like, you told me there's avatar, some.
Yeah.
And just in my mind, because I see avatars in lots of places, but the first avatars I saw are like, all this thing like that. And I was thinking that maybe that is what is gonna turn out, but I'm not gonna speak like that. I'm gonna speak but like myself, with my pronunciation and everything. So I can feel I'm there, or they can feel I'm a person actually from distinct place with a very distinct pronunciation or anything. And I want to also to explain that I am not that kind of concept, especially because it's stereotyping and everything. And that was the main thing we were working on, to just, because before it use it, for good. Like, so all these things were in there, like when I'm rehearsing, like practicing. But mostly it was COVID, so it was good for me. It was like walking on the street and thinking about it.
Yeah, fab. And I guess, yeah, if we could touch on the questions. So at the beginning of the app experience, I'll say a couple more things. At the beginning of the app experience, we asked the user to fill out some information, and then if they click on the privacy policy, there's a slightly rude and dismissive message about how we don't care about their information, and we've not stored it, and it doesn't go anywhere. And all we care about is where they're going to go next and the steps they're about to take. So yeah, I guess maybe elaborate on that, because that was Tom's wonderful idea to kind of add this layer of implicating the audience in some way. So yeah, if you could talk about that, that'd be great.
Yeah, like it's like agreements, right? I'm gonna connect with you, become your friend. And then the limits can go as far as I'm you. Ubuntu, like that was a message actually, like we were trying to. This technology is not as we were saying earlier, it's not our like alienated from anything. It's with us. It's us. We function with technological system inside our body. So yeah, that was introduction for me as well. So this is what I was like, been doing.
Yeah, great. And there's a kind of section right at the beginning with the questions that we ask as well. So before we ask the user to kind of merge their data with Rasmus, we ask them to fill out their kind of location, where they've come from, where they're born, their age, and all those things. And the idea was to kind of implicate them in some way and to inconvenience them. And the idea in general was to make sure that this app wasn't really for the user. It wasn't really for the user. It was an experience of connecting this kind of idea of the body as data and allowing the user to contribute in some way to that. So that's kind of, where we went with that. So yeah, that was a really nice touch. So I'll kind of just wrap up a little bit, but if you could just tell us quickly a little bit about your experience of the way that GPS and the kind of actual data capture reflecting on you and the idea of the body as data in your body, about kind of bodily memory and the place that it's held and things like that.
Very recent GPS since I came here. But GPS different for me, like manual GPS. So you can ask somebody, where is to go? Oh, this way, right, left, right, left. That's how I grow up. But technologically, you can actually see like a person's walking and coming and going this way and that way, and somebody is watching there. Like there's the idea of somebody watching there, and I don't know. It's not gonna be like my uncle or it's not my dad. I don't know. No, it could be. You don't know. So all these things not should not like really scare us or frighten us, but just make us conscious about it and then do something about it and get closer to it to know more. So that's what I'm doing right now. That's what I've been doing. So my knowledge wasn't that much, but it becomes more serious the more I know about it.